Hello and welcome to the channel. Thanks very much for watching. Today we're going to be building a homage to the famous Rolex GMT-Master II, the Bruce Wayne version, which has got the grey and black bezel, which I'll show you in a moment. So I've assembled the usual suspects. First of all, that bezel I was talking about. The top half is black, the lower half is sort of grey. So hence, obviously Batman references, I think. I'm going to stick with the traditional sort of black dial, which is what you find on the real thing. And Rolex have got these sort of white gold hands. These look pretty close. And an NH34 movement. These movements are getting quite expensive nowadays. So it's actually at the point now where the Rolex clones, like the 3285, are similar sort of price to these now. They've got a different date position now. I didn't realise when I first bought them. Here I'm just showing you the feet of the dial, which you have to cut to size. I'm just checking. I always check. I mean, I know for an NH34, I know which ones to take off, but I still like to just make absolutely sure and have a look. And you take off the two sort of closest to the movement, really. So here we go. You can see the date window there on the far side. So I'm just nipping off the 2 feet that are just above the date window. There's little stubs left when you nip them off like that. So I'm going to have to do something about that as well, and then taking off the next 2 as well. There they go. Now, ordinarily I'd do this away from the workbench because I don't want little metal filings getting anywhere near the movement. But for the benefit of showing all you guys, I'm just doing it on the bench. And I usually use a little Dremel just to flatten it. And now the other side, getting rid of the stubs there as well. Obviously you could just use an ordinary file, but the Dremel's a bit quicker, so that's what I use. And for once I don't have to use dial feet, so this is good. The feet fit pretty much perfectly into the movement, so that's good. And you don't always just sort of twirl it upside down to make sure it's firmly attached. It needs to be firmly attached because if the pinion isn't sticking out far enough through the centre of the dial, obviously there's going to be a difficulty getting the hands on. That's particularly important when you're putting a GMT hand on as well, because suddenly you've got the second hand plus 3 other hands, the GMT, the hour and the minute, all to be fitted on. So now I'm just moving the date window to the point where it's about to change, which is why I will know then that the hands, the hour hand and the minute hand, are about on midnight. So I slow down when I can see the thing about to change. And there you go, it's just done. Okay, so now that's on midnight. I can put the GMT hand on. I'm just using a little bit of Rodico to position the hand here. So that was nice and straightforward. So time to use the pressing machine. Now this machine's got a sort of movement holder which exactly positions the center of the dial under the pressing hand. So it's not quite perfect there, but I'm just going to push it down gently, and then I can adjust it a little bit. I'm just pushing it with something a bit of plastic so I don't scratch the dial. Now it's exactly over the midnight point, so that's good. So now I can press it down all the way. Notice I'm using a 2.2mm wide hand presser. That's the size of the LH134 GMT hand. And it needs to be straight, which is why I use that mechanical hand pusher. If you just push down with your bare hands on, using a hand pressing tool, it's pretty hard to get the pressure completely even, so the hand stays exactly straight and parallel to the dial surface. So now I'm just testing it, moving the GMT around. Obviously, when it gets around to midnight, the date should flick over. Oops, just a little. That's not a good movement holder, this. So put the better one down. There you go. So that's changed, that's good. Now it's time to put the hour hand on. Notice how I skillfully raise my index finger to block your view. I'm sorry about that, it's not deliberate. I've got 3 different cameras firing at this, and none of them got a perfect shot. That's because, unfortunately, I'm not built for watchmaking. I'm a big bloke, and my hands are big. It's hard to get them out of the way. Anyway, this is a decent angle if I can just keep my finger out of the way. I've roughly positioned the hour hand. It needs to be moved, but it's best to get it a little bit. If it's just completely loose, that's no good. The slightest bit of pressure moves it out of kilter. So you've got to get it a little fraction on. I'm just showing you there that it's over the GMT hand. So that's dead midnight. So that's good. So now it goes back into the other movement holder. That means that I know that it's the center of the dial is exactly under the center of the machine pusher, hand pusher. So here it is. And down comes the presser. Now I hadn't realised, but I haven't quite got the dial in straight. You can see how the near side is dipped a little bit compared to the far side. That means that the hand may not be absolutely perfect. However, I'm testing it here now, and it's good enough actually. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm putting the hour hand on the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock positions, and by the time the hour hand gets back to the 12, the GMT hand should be on the 6, because that's the first 12 hours gone. And obviously the GMT hand is pointing to the time indicators on the bezel once the watch is assembled, so you're not looking at the indices on the dial. So at the 6 o'clock point, the GMT hand should be on 9, and it was. And now as they both come around to 12, they should both join up and be exactly at the 12 midnight. And there it is. And now it's time for the hour hand. So I'm putting the the minute hand. I'm putting the hour hand on the 6 o'clock this time to make a sort of nice straight line against 12 between the hour hand and the minute hand. And again, I'm just putting the minute hand roughly in position. Then I get a hand presser and just press it down very gently by hand. And this one's 1.1 millimeter diameter, which gets it over the hole, but not beyond to press down and ruin the shape of the minute hand. So that's on nicely. I haven't shown you using the machine presser, but I did, and it's reasonably straight there. In a perfect world, there'd be no slope on that minute hand, but I want it out of the way the second hand when it goes on anyway, so I'm not too fussed about that. So that's looking pretty good. So now it's time for the second hand. Now, I've probably magnified this a bit too much, looking at the quality of that picture, but I'm just trying to show you in close-up what happens. And here I'm using that technique where I'm putting a little bit of Rodeco on the hand pusher, and then putting the second hand on that, and then putting the whole thing over the pinion. And I've left a little blob of Rodeco on, but that's easily taken off with more Rodeco. So that's it for part one. Getting the second hand is the first stage. In part two, I'll show you how to get the dial movement into the case, and put the gaskets on and seal it and everything like that. In particular, get the stem the correct length. That's the hardest bit, I think, putting those together. A lot of people think the second hand is, but I think that's it. As usual, I'll be giving away the watch that I finally built to someone who makes a comment in the comments section. And I know there's 1,000 subscribers now, so thanks very much to everyone who subscribed. But there's not many comments, so if you like the watch, do make a comment. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone.